La la la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la di 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 di. Ya di 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 di. Ya la di 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 di. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya 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 la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la di 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 di. Super.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who have been a part of our virtual village in the last couple of weeks, thank you all for being here. My name is Alana Unger, and I am Wilderness Tours Community Programs Manager. And for those of you who are new to our virtual village space, wanted to welcome you all here. In a response to these uncertain times and the unfortunate cancellation of our Passover in the Desert Festival, which many of us would have been at soon, we decided to use a lot of our energy to create this virtual village space. And as a part of our mission of awakening earth-based traditions of Judaism, Wilderness Tour creates village life during our immersive land-based festivals by uplifting and encouraging individuals' gifts of the collective community. So 3 times a week in this virtual platform, you'll hear from Wilderness Tour community members such as Rabbi Sarah Leah, and other longtime stakeholders in the earth-based Jewish movement, including rabbis and priestesses and many others. Sessions are going to range in topics from Torah study, nature connection, spirituality, and embodiment practices. And just want to say big thanks for all of you being here today and being a part of our virtual village. Virtual Village is a free platform. And so if you would like to support Wilderness Torah in this effort, we welcome any and all donations, big and small. And at the end of our session, we'll put in our chat the link. And just so all of you know, this session is being recorded and is also on Facebook Live. And all of our sessions are being archived and they will be up on our website. So if you want to reference them, you're welcome to look back there. And without further ado, really excited to invite and welcome Rabbi Sarah Leah, who was ordained by Aleph in 2005. She served as the rabbi for Chochmat Halev and is a long-term member of the Wilderness Torah community. And we're so grateful to have you here today.
Thank you. So, wow. So I'm just going to take a minute or two, not even a minute or two, but just a few repetitions of that nigun that I was chanting before, just the melody, just to ground us. And I'm going to try to switch this so that I can see all of you. And so ya la di 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 di, ya la di 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 di, ya la di 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 di, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la da 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 da, ya da 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 da. So Moadim L'Simcha, which means times of joy, and this year is a time for us to find our joy in ways that we wouldn't otherwise expect to find it. And I'm just feeling a lot of joy seeing everybody's faces, and wishing that I could take my computer to a place where I could show you my view from around the corner from where I live, which is looking at the east side of Mount Rose and the Sierras and the high desert. And because I feel like that would be a real wilderness Torah thing to do. But here I am in my apartment, my little house that I share with my kids in Sparks, Nevada, Nitzotzot. And when I was approached to teach this class, it just immediately, I realized that I wanted to try to bring this practice to as many people as possible, realizing that an hour is going to, it's not quite enough time. And at the end of our class today, if there are those who are sparked by this content and by the practice and by wanting to deepen their knowledge of the Sfirot and one aspect of Kabbalah, I'm happy to continue this offline with folks, and maybe we can get our own little group together. And at the end, I'm going to post a link to everything. You don't have to worry about notes or anything like that. Everything that I've, all the text that I bring up today, you'll get a Google Drive link to, as well as much, much more. And also I'll give you my email address, and feel free to contact me if you want to continue the process. So we're 4 days into the period of time between Pesach, between the second night of Pesach actually, and Shavuot. And as Zelig has said many, many times, there's Zelig, you can say hi, Zelig. Zelig, who's been my teacher and my student, and we've just been in this together for a long time now, reminds us always that although we have a historical sort of social aspect to the holiday cycle, that they were originally earth-based cycles. And so this is a 7-week period of time where the children of Israel, where the Israelites were each day raising up a certain measure of their barley harvest and waving it before God and offering it as an offering. And so it was really a time of incredible gratitude and very deep connection to the rain cycles, having just switched our prayers from the prayers for rain. We did this on the first day of Pesach, the prayers for rain to the prayer for dew. And of course, dew is this unasked for gift from the divine, from the universe, that without dew, the land of Israel and certainly other desert places like where I live couldn't exist, because the dew is the condensation of whatever rain or whatever moisture is in the air. And so we're in this period of time of incredible gratitude for the rains and for the harvest that is coming. And then, of course, the rabbis went and they took this period of time and said, this is a period of weeks, and we're going to go into the text from the Torah in just a second, a period of 7 weeks that leads from Passover to Shavuot. And isn't that interesting how we're going to end up in 7 weeks at the base of Mount Sinai, ready to receive the Torah. And then there was another aha that happened, because whenever anything happens in cycles of 7, the Kabbalistic light bulbs go off in the minds of our Kabbalists, probably from the Middle Ages, particularly those who ended up in Sfat, although it was before that in the Zohar in Spain and France and places like that in the 11th and 12th centuries. But whenever the number 7 comes up, all these light bulbs go off, and we'll go into that, why that is, and how that connects us to something called the Tree of Life. Now, I know a lot of you have been around Kabbalah and Kabbalah talk for years and years and years, and so for some of you this may be old, and for some of you new, and so I'm going to try to balance that. And please, those of you for whom this is like complete baffling gobbly talk, please do let me know, and I'm happy to deepen the learning on this separately, because it's a 7-week practice for those who take it on. And so during these the 7 weeks, and I think I'll pull up a picture for you right now. So I'm going to do a screen share, and let's see, which one should I do? Where did it go? Where did my Microsoft, there it goes. Okay, I'm going to share this picture. So can we all see, let's get a good picture of the Sfirot. Can we see this? I don't know, but let me try to narrow my my screen share so that it'll all fit on the screen. Can we all see that now? Yeah, there's one more. Well, anyway, I'll try. I'll go down. So you may have seen this before. This is the Kabbalistic tree of life. These are all the names in Hebrew, and here are the names in English that we can see. And I'm not going to ask folks to raise your hand if you've seen this before, because I know a lot of you haven't and some of you haven't. But what we see is that there is an upper part of this tree. They're all done in triads. And there's a lower part of the tree, the last 7. And these lower aspects of the tree, called the sphirot, are these foci. They're spheres of energy that go from the infinite into the finite. And this is a tree that you can climb up from here. We're down in this area, and climb up to that which is closer to the divine up here, or it's a channel of energy coming down from the divine into our world. And whenever we see the number 7, we work with these lower 7 sphirot that are the sphirot that are manifest in our world. And I'm going to move up to this other picture right here, right now, where you can see the sphirot can be put on the human body. It's an embodied practice. And we have Keter, which, as you can see, this is the crown, and it's even above the head. It is that channel of the infinite level, the infinite energy. Above here is the Ein Sof, which is the infinite. And that energy is channeled down into our world through these upper sphirot into these 7 lower sphirot, which are the ones that are parallel to the 7 weeks of counting the Omer. And let me go to this picture here, because it has some explanations. Again, you're going to have all of this in multiple formats to look at after the class. So we have the right arm, which is chesed, which is loving kindness. And this side of the tree of life is outflowing energy. It's boundless and it's unbounded energy. So we have this unbounded love, loving kindness on the right side. We then move to the left side, which is Gevurah, which is strength, boundaries. It's your left arm, your left shoulder. And as we'll learn in this practice, that unbounded love can just sort of flood the world. If we have, this kind of love is often compared to water. And you know that if we have water that is not contained, it will flood. And the only way for us to use water is to put it into a vessel, which is the vessel of Gevurah. And so we have this balancing thing. We go right, left, center. This is where there's a lot of boundedness, a lot of strength, a lot of power on this left side. And we meet in the middle, which is Tiferet, which is beauty or compassion. And that is the trunk of the body or the heart. We then move again to the next sphira, which is the next outward moving sphira, the unbounded sphira of Netzach, which to me, Netzach means eternity. It also means getting the job done, pushing through. And so many of us spend our lives in the way of just pushing through and getting things done without really stopping to see what the results of our actions are. And that's what Hod teaches us. Hod is, it holds Netzach. This is the right leg, this is the left leg. Hod holds Netzach in such a way that we can harvest the fruits of our getting it done in the world. Hod is the energy of stopping to look at each petal of the flower and notice each stamen, each vein along the flower. And I don't know, I'm sure in Berkeley, lots of things are blooming now, but we're very excited here just to have cherry trees blooming a little bit. The desert is not quite in bloom here. And again, this is balanced in the center, in this place of creativity or foundation called Yesod. Yesod is also the divine phallus. It's the female reproductive organs also. Malchut is a place of sovereignty. It's also on this central column. Malchut means kingship. It means regalness and dignity. It's the place of Shekhinah, of the divine feminine. This one says it's a place where you stand. And Malchut is where all the energy pours out into our world. If you want to know where this is where the final hay of the divine name resides. This is where the Vav of the divine name resides, these 6 sfirot, which are 6, which equals Vav. And up here is where the where Bina is. It's above, it's out of this world. So I know that was a very, very quick introduction to the Sfirot. And if we look at the Tree of Life, we see how the Tree of Life is, it's a step down. It's a path, again, from the question that the mystics always ask is, how do you get from, well, we know that God or the divine or the mystery is infinite and has no form, but how do you get to this physical being that we are? And so the mystical path of the Tree of Life enables us to have a step down. It's sort of like a transformer tree of energies that are brought down. And the names of the Sfirot are important for communication, but really they're just names. They're names that come from a verse in the Book of Chronicles, which that we chant at the end of the Torah service, which is Gedula v'Hagvura v'Tiferet v'Netzach v'Hahod. That's where they took the names, but the names, it's really just names for energies. And what we do during the period of counting the Omer is each week of the Omer lives in one of those lower 7 Sfirot. And each day of the week is a different shade of one of those Sfirot. So I'm going to share another picture for you to give you some ideas of what this might look like. And then we're going to look a little bit at the, this is an old book that comes from the 80s of Rabbi Gershom and Yonasan Gershom. And I want to look at this picture in particular. Can you all, hopefully you can all see this. Again, here's the upper Sfirot that we're not going to talk about so much today because we're talking about the embodied Sfirot. But you can see how within each sphere, there's also the other 7. Within each sphere, there are all 7 Sfirot. And so if this is the week where we're focusing on our loving kindness, within that Sphira are all the other Sfirot. And within each of these are all the others, and within these are all the others. So this becomes an infinite chain down of divine energy into our own lives. And counting the Omer then becomes a way of being able to connect into the Tree of Life and to spend a week, 7 weeks, really deepening our understanding and knowledge of these of this divine Tree of Life and bringing it into our lives, so that by the time we get to Shavuot, we have walked through all of those aspects of ourselves. We've walked through the aspect of ourselves that have to do with our loving nature. We've walked through the aspects of the aspects of ourselves that have to do with our more bounded or harsh or judgmental, I guess that's really the word I was looking for, nature, which works in Gevurah. And we've also managed to spend a week in Tiferet, which is balancing those energies and really living in this place of compassion, which is not too much love and not too much judgment, but this true place of truth, or emet. And after a week there, we then spend a week living with our personal paths of how we are in the world and how we push through and get things done. And then we spend a week in that's Netzach. We spend a week in Hod, which is much more of a quiet and detail-oriented week. And when we move to Yesod, because we need the balance of those two in order to really be fully present in the world, that's where we are. And then finally, the world of Malchut, or dignity, or Shekhinah, before we get ready to be ready to receive the Torah on Shavuot. And so this is I've given you, this book particularly comes from the 80s. It's not out of print now. I've been unable to find it. And right before I moved from Berkeley a year and a half ago, I decided to get rid of all my papers. And so I scanned this whole thing in a series of 7 files, which I'll give you afterwards. Again, realizing that I wish there was a way for us to pay him back, but there's none that I'm aware of. And but his meditations and his diagrams are really amazing. So let's read together this quote from Rabbi Nachman. And this is the essence of what we're doing. Each day of the Omer period is associated with a different aspect of the Sfirot. And on that day, everything which everyone in the whole world is talking about, and we can extend this to feeling and acting out, is an expression of that special aspect with that day, that with which that day is associated. And those of us who cultivate the understanding to hear and recognize these energies in the world will understand this. So what I'd like to do now is I'm going to stop that screen share. And I would love to be able to take questions. If someone wants to put something in the chat, I'm happy to do it, but I'm going to probably just keep moving through the material that I've brought today, even though it's not the way I would teach if we were sitting together in a circle, hoping that we'll be able to have more of a discussion later on if you want to continue the learning. But what I'd like to share with you now is the liturgy that goes with this and the magic that comes with the practice of counting the Omer. And I'm going to share, whoops, that's not what we need to do. I've had, oh, here it goes. Let me see what's shared on the screen. Let's get back to this. Let me stop this share and let me try this again. Where's my Word file? Okay, let's see if this works. Is that, so are you seeing this thing that says Wilderness Torah Counting of the Omer? Are you all saying that? This is it? Yeah, okay. So what I did was I put this together in a way that hopefully our community can learn and understand a little bit better. I put it in both transliteration and translation. And what I'd like to do is go through the practice and then see where we get with speaking about this week's Sphira of Chesed and seeing how we might bring that into our lives. So any positive mitzvah, a positive mitzvah is one that involves action. And so there's positive mitzvot and there's negative mitzvot. The positives are the thou shouts and the negatives are thou shalt nots. And a lot of us, I think, routinely do the thou shalt, a positive mitzvah, for example, lighting candles on Shabbat and holidays. And we say the blessing, Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, the one who God asked us to sanctify ourselves through doing these positive actions. And the negative commandments are, of course, things like not doing things, like not working on Shabbat. Before we do any intentional mitzvah, an intentional act, what we need to channel is those aspects of the sphirot that are out of this, that are beyond our bodies. We need to channel the will to do them. And we do that by setting an intention. And the classic intention that we set for doing Sfirat HaOmer or for other positive mitzvot is to unify all of the disparate forces in the world. And that's symbolized in Kabbalah talk by these words, L'shem yichud kutchabrichu ushchinte, for the sake of the unification of the Holy One of Blessing, which is the divine masculine. And note, that's not the divine male, but it's the divine masculine forces in the world. And I'll speak about that in a minute. And the divine feminine. And for the sake of the unification of those energies in awe and in love, in reverence and in love, we unify the divine name of Yud and He and Vav and He, which is one of the divine names that we find in the Torah, in a complete union for the sake of those who are all on the path of striving with God. Yisrael means to strive with God or to have a yashar, a straight path to God. Personally, I don't think that's only for people who are identified as Jews, but a lot of us are and a lot of us aren't, but it's for those who are on the path with us. And so Kabbalah uses a lot of sexual metaphors. And I know we're trying to move out of that, and I'm really, really waiting for the knowledge and the inspiration from a more queer Kabbalah, which I haven't really learned a lot yet. And I'm probably not going to be the one, I'll be the one who learns that from other folks as opposed to intuit it from my own existence. But this Kabbalah is somewhat gendered. It's very gendered, not somewhat gendered. And the divine masculine is the outflowing. It's if you think of excuse me for being graphic, you know, I've spent 36 years as a gynecologist, so I'm a little graphic at times. It's the penis vagina model, that the penis is the outflow track and the vagina is the receptive model. So we're not really talking about gendered bodies, but we're talking about energies. So there's that energy that pushes outward and there's that energy that receives. And so the Holy One of Blessing, the masculine energies in the world are those that are bestowing, bestowing, and bestowing. And the feminine energies are those that are receiving. But we then know, and we've learned this from the story of the breaking of the vessels in Kabbalah, that if all you do is receive and receive and receive, you split, you break, you can't hold all that light. And so what we've learned through that tree of life, and if you remember the diagram with all the arrows going, that as each vessel receives the divine light, it has to pour it out to the next level. So each vessel, each of us, becomes both the masculine and the feminine energy, the energy of bestowing and giving, as well as the energy of receiving. And according to one of the teachers that I love so much, the Netivot Shalom, the entire universe is based on this giving and receiving. That if the giving and receiving stop ever, then there's no foundation to our world. So what we receive, we must give, and what we give and what we receive, and who knows where it starts and where it stops. So that's what this Kavanah is about, for the sake of the unification of the Holy One of Blessing, the bestower, and the Shekhinah and the receiver, the masculine and feminine energies. And so we say that that is the sake, and this also stands in for all of the opposite energies in the discursive mind, whether it's light and dark or good and bad, that all of those opposites are brought together through the intention of this practice. So it can become a very, very powerful practice if we take that intention seriously. And then we say, here I am, hineni muchana umuzumenet, or in the masculine form. Again, Hebrew is a gendered language, and I know there are folks who are working on how to make this a less gendered net language. Some people would say, hineni, use the infinite you, we are ready but I'm trying to remember how to conjugate that, which I can't do on the spot. So here we are ready to fulfill this mitzvah of counting the Omer. And this mitzvah comes directly from the Torah. The Torah tells us in Leviticus 23, and you will count usfartem lachem, from the next day after Shabbat, which the rabbis interpret as the second day of Pesach, from the day that you first brought the sheaf of the wave offering of the barley, you complete 7 complete Sabbath cycles, and the next day, which is the 50th day, you offer a new meal offering, mincha chadasha l'Adonai, offer a new meal offering to God. And so we've gone through this 7 weeks of 7 days, and then we are ready to offer ourselves as a new offering to the divine. And then we say this Kabbalistic invocation from chapter 19 of Psalms. Vayhi noam Adonai Eloheinu aleinu. May the pleasantness of God be upon our hands, and may God establish the work of our hands, and may the holy work, may our hands be, the work of our hands be established by the divine. So we say the intention, and then we get ready to say the bracha. And the bracha is just like lighting the Shabbat candles or doing anything that's a positive mitzvah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, or there's a feminine, you can feminize that if you'd like. Asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Here you are, a holy one, who has asked us to sanctify ourselves through these connecting acts, and asks us to count the Omer. And then we specifically say the day of the Omer, which we'll do at the very end of our class. And what I would love to do, and love to have the time to explore today, but I don't think we'll be able to in the time, is there happens to be this magical psalm, which is Psalm 67, which once you get rid of the this first line, which is an introduction, which says it's to the chief musician for stringed instruments. And it's interesting that you'll see the word netzach in here, which I just really noticed this year, to the one who gets things done. The rest of this this psalm has exactly 49 words, which is one word for each day of the counting of the Omer. And today, the word would be Ya'er, which means to enlighten us, for there to be light shining down upon us. And so we could say this, and this psalm very much connects us to the earth traditions, because it is all about the divine salvation, as well as singing and joyfulness, and let all of the peoples be able to sing, and let the earth yield her produce. So there, hidden in this practice, is this prayer for the earth to be bountiful, and that we would be blessed by God. And that all the ends of the earth, kol afse aretz, will be in that sense of in that place of reverence and awe. So there's the psalm, and then there's the Ana B'choach prayer, which I'm also happy to go through in more detail with all of us at a later date, if you'd like to do that. This is a magical prayer. I say the word magical not in a sense that hopefully won't get hackles up. It's a mystical prayer that has power, the power of the divine name. It's a prayer that comes from it's the 42 letter, each of the first letters of each word make up the 42 lettered name of God, which is derived from the book of creation. So it's a prayer that enables us to actually change reality. And then what I did want to spend the most time on right now is this last paragraph of the Omer practice, which is all about the Kabbalah of this Omer practice, and why we're doing it on a spiritual level, and how our very own personal practices can bring us as channels of divine bounty into this world. And it also teaches us how our own, well, you'll see the words that they use, but how our own imperfections affects the divine flow into this world. And so it gives us a lot of responsibility. And I'd like to look at this in detail, and we'll use the English. So it says, Master of the universe, you have commanded us through your servant Moses to count the Omer. And the lines, the next part of this is actually this part that's here saying the verses from Leviticus. And the question is, why are we doing this? And why would we have this practice for 7 full weeks of 7 days to look at each of the sfirot as they relate to our lives? And we do that in order, kedei l'tarenu, in order to purify us from all the negativity and from all of that which disconnects us from our souls. I don't know about anybody else, but it seems like my life, as much as I'd like it to be fully intentional and fully, I guess intentional is really the word, that I would walk through each day, and with each interaction and each word that I say and each email that I send, to really be clear in exactly what I want to say and how I want to act. But that doesn't always happen. And so I know that as I walk through my life, I do collect these little sticky pieces of negativity and disconnection. And what the counting of the Omer enables us to do is, by going through the 49 days, is looking really carefully at ourselves and saying, okay, where am I? If this is the week of chesed, or of loving kindness, where am I in my loving kindness practice? How am I putting forth loving kindness into the world? And I'll after I go through this prayer, then we'll look at this week specifically in a little more detail. And so we do this counting of the Omer in order to purify ourselves from the negativity and that which disconnects us from holiness. We ask that through this, may our souls be cleansed from all of this negativity. And therefore, we say, Adonai, and God of our divinity, divinity of our parents, of our ancestors, of the ancestors of our own tradition, the ancestors of the place that we live in. May it be your will that through the merit of this practice, should be Schut Sfirat HaOmer, Shesafarti Hayom, that the merit of this practice, which I counted today, may any blemish that I have caused in the sphere, in the sphera, may it be purified and sanctified with holiness that comes from above. It's the up-down metaphor, but nevertheless, I think it's useful. That, may we receive help in cleansing all of the channels and scrubbing clean all of our personal channels. And may we then allow ourselves to be channels of abundant bounty flowing through all of the worlds of doing, the worlds of emotion, the worlds of thinking, the worlds of spirit. May all of those worlds, all the directions, be cleansed from all the blemishes that we, through our unintentional living, have brought to these worlds. May all levels of our soul, the nefesh soul, the soul that's closest to our body, and the ruach soul, which is our breath, which is our emotional soul, and our neshama, which is another aspect of the breath, which connects us to our thoughts. May they be cleansed of all dross and blemish, so that we may actually receive that divine sanctification from above. And then we say, Amen, Selah. So I think for me, and I know that I'm going to see everybody here for a minute and look at all the faces. The practice of counting the Omer raises the ante of my practice, so that it allows me to have this intentional plan to how am I going to get from that place of leaving the narrowness of Egypt, the place of constriction, the place of enslavement, to be able to be ready miraculously in just 7 weeks to receive my own revelation. And that's what this is all about. So, okay, so what I'd like to do is I'm gonna I think I'll leave off the screen share, but feel free, if you want me to screen share the picture of this Sphirot again, please let me know and I will do it. I just want to find one other of the views of the Sphirot here that I will share with you. Let me just find that. I guess it's not where I'm looking at. Okay. All right. We won't do that then. Okay. So, so what I wanted to talk a little bit about and is what chesed might mean in this week. And I'll leave a few minutes at the end to show you some of the resources that you have to do this practice on your own. And again, I'm offering to continue learning with you all if you'd like to continue in a way that's more personal and interactive. But the word, we talked about chesed as being loving kindness. It's the right side of the tree. It's the first stop point after the more infinite energies are coming down into our world. And it's this sense of the ultimate in connectedness. And it's also the ultimate in pouring out of our own love. And so on the first day of counting the Omer, we were back, which was back on, when was the Seder? The Seder was Tuesday night, was it? Tuesday night, and then second Seder was Wednesday night, is that right? No, next night? Thursday night. Okay, Thursday night was the second night of Pesach. So back starting on Thursday night, we were in the Sphira of Chesed, and we were in the day of the week that is Chesed. So that is called Chesed Sheba Chesed, which is loving kindness of loving kindness. So it would be the most absolute expression of loving kindness that we could manifest or that we could imagine in the world. And we ask those kind of the questions of ourselves. So where am I with my loving kindness? And does my loving kindness, is it sufficient? Are there ulterior motives that I'm not aware of in my loving kindness? And people will do various things. They'll either do meditation, sometimes journaling, sometimes walking meditation, sometimes just thinking about it and putting the question out into their consciousness about, well, where am I with chesed in the realm of the ultimate of chesed without boundaries? And the next day we are now moving to the next level of the counting, which would be Gevura Shebechesed, which I think I will put the Sfirot up just so that those of you who are not used to looking at them can see the words. See, there we go. Okay. So the next is Gevura in Chesed. So where is the strength or the boundaries that I need within my love in order to really manifest my love? Those who are in relationship or ever have been in relationship may know that this can be a real challenge, that sometimes our love can overwhelm our partners or our friends or our puppies or ourselves. And I think about that a lot now for myself, that sometimes being too loving toward myself is not the way to go, that I need to have a little bit of strength and a little bit of power, a little bit of boundedness in my love. And that's what I would meditate on. And the interesting piece comes for next week when we're in the week of Gevura, and we have the opposite. We have Chesed Sheba Gevura. We have the loving kindness within the day of boundaries. And you can ask yourself, well, what is the difference between having Gevura within Chesed or Chesed within Gevura? Are they the same? Are they not the same? And how would that relate to me as a person? So so this was Thursday night. This was Friday or Shabbat. And this week, I find that always really fascinating. It's one of the patterns that manifests year after year. This week, Shabbat, which is the day of, it's a day of rest and connectedness. Every week this year, the Gevura will manifest on Shabbat, strength or boundedness. And then on Saturday night and Sunday, we have this balance place, which is a place where I love to rest. And we are in Tiferet Sheba Chesed. So yesterday I was meditating about how can I be balanced in my love? How can I take a little bit of Gevura and some Chesed and balance it in compassion? My spiritual teachers have taught me over the years that compassion is not the same as loving kindness. That compassion is able to see a larger picture, to see myself or another person or the world situation with both Chesed and Gevura, and to be able to see it in a place of balance. Today, we are in the 4th day of counting the Omer, and we are in this place of Netzach. And so the questions I've been asking myself in a really serious way is, how have I been pushing through, just pushing really hard in order to be loved and to love? And how has that affected my ability to be loving? And how has that affected my relationships in both positive and negative ways? For me, there's been a lot of challenge in Netzach Sheba Chesed in my life. And it's the desire so much for love that I think it's sometimes gotten in the way of my really being loving. And then we'll move tomorrow or tonight.
Leah, we have a message in the chat. I wanted to.
Sure, please. Yeah.
Erin has a question saying, have they done any neurobiological studies attempting to correlate the left and right aspects of Kabbalah with brain imaging?
Yes, and I don't know fully the answer. I know about brain imaging. Certainly if you go up to the Tree of Life, and I was just learning this, and I'm happy to, once I actually read it, I listen to it. Apparently, yes, there's definitely the Chokhmah, which is, again, it's the more of the higher levels of consciousness in Kabbalah, is more associated with the right brain, the parallel processing in the right brain. And Bina, which is the discernment, is very much the left brain, which is sequential processing. And actually there's I'll tell you the name of it. I just wrote it down. Oh gosh, I'll get it for you right afterwards so I don't get distracted. It's a TED talk of a neuroscientist who had a stroke, and she lost her left brain functioning and found herself completely in her right brain, and she knew what was going on. So yes, I think there are studies, at least as far as that goes, as far as right brain and left brain, and I'm not sure about the others, and because I'm not that's not an area that I'm really expert in. Are there other questions before I go on, or Alana, we're good? Because I want to finish, we don't have that much longer. So I want to be able to go through at least this week, and so that you can get a little hint of how to do it. I want to go through some resources for those who are interested in continuing the practice, either by themselves or in community. Or so my question that will come up tonight, my question that will come up tonight is, when it's Hod Shebechesed, is how do I really stop and notice the flavors of love in my life, the details of love? How do I, how can I improve that? Or maybe spending a day just noticing the various shades of life, of love in my life, and how I may want to bring that into my existence in a better way. I'm trying to see how I can track. I'm not gonna, let me just get through this and then I'll track the chat a little bit better. Yesod is the foundation. It is the amalgamation of all of these back into balance. And so Yesod would be the balance between being too persistent, too pushy, and not pushy enough, or not nuanced enough. I guess Hod might be a wonderful way of using the word nuance in Hod. I think I like that. I don't think I've used that before. And Yesod will be a balance there. And so what I might think about as I'm meditating tomorrow night will be, how do I balance that need and desire and wanting so much to bring love into my life with the more nuanced, quiet, appreciative aspect of love? And then finally, we'll come to Malchut, which will be Wednesday night. Every Wednesday night will be Malchut, and we'll be in Malchut Shebechesed. Malchut is as I said before, the divine feminine, the regalness, the dignity. I love using the word dignity for this sphera, the dignity within love. It's finding that final, going through all of these triads, left, right, center, and then we're finally in the center as it's going to manifest in my life. And so here I may set some intentions for how I want to manifest love in my life. As we go on. And then next week, we'll do the same thing with Gevurah, with strength, with boundaries. And we'll spend a day where we're trying to bring a little bit of softness into our boundedness. We'll try to bring balance into our boundedness, into our boundaries. But yet we may on the Netzach day want to really push through and want to be more boundaried and see how that would serve us. And we walk through all of this sfirot on each day. So I'm going to unstop this share so I can see you all and check the chat real quick and see. Yeah.
Rabbi, I had a question. I typed it into the chat as well, but
Sure.
Just more on the actual how do we do this? I've never counted the Omer before. So
Sure.
do you meditate on the upcoming day after you've counted, or what?
Well, that's it. So there's a couple tricks, and I tried not to get too strict about it. First is that you do want to try to count with the bracha. And if you feel like using the practice that you'll have all of these resources in the chat. We'll give you a Google Drive with everything you could possibly want. There's also what I suggest, and it's not my usual practice to send us to Chabad. However, Chabad has a thing called the Omer counter, and there's an app. And if it's your first time ever doing this, the app is actually quite helpful. David Seidenberg, who's part of our Chevra, also has an app. And if you just put in the app store counting the Omer, you'll come up with a couple different apps. But the one from Chabad is called Omer Counting, and it's got some orange and green on it. And David Seidenberg's has some colored sfirot on it. They give you some intentions. But yes, I think the more you can bring whatever intention and whatever degree of practice you choose to, but the practice would be to count the Omer, to establish in your intention what the day is and what the shade of the day is. And then either to have a definite time for meditation, be it 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or just to have that intention filtering through your day and maybe have yourself reminded at different times of the day to check in about your sphera. You made a star. Everybody, I want to introduce you to my granddaughter. This is Hazel. And look what she just made. Wow, how beautiful. Wow, good job, Hazel. Hazel, I'm going to finish with my friends in just about 5 minutes, okay? And I'll come out and be with you, okay? What? I promised her something. I promised her matzo brie for lunch. Okay. All right. So this is why that is why I'm here and not in Berkeley. So yeah, so it's definitely a practice. And I must say the first few times through, the first year or two through it, it's baffling but yet by counting the sphirot and doing whatever learning you choose to do, it's one way of really actually getting an understanding of what these magical sphirot are. And because, just learning the names is not really just always the, is not, I mean, it will help you learn the names, but there's layers and layers beyond that. So, and let's see, Zelik says, Gevurah and Netzach seem to be more aligned, as do Chesed and Hod. Why are they crossed on the tree? Interesting question. I think they're crossed on the tree. Again, I think it's a great question, and I'm glad. I'm going to give you that. Both Netzach and Chesed are outward moving. They're flowing outward from you. So Netzach is pushing forward in the world of just getting things done, and Hod is this overflowing love. I mean, and Chesed is this overflowing love. Both Hod and Gevurah involve a staying in place. Does that make sense? My teacher, Andrea Cohn-Kiner, always taught me to dance the sphirot. So you go Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod. And you can actually almost lean out into the right. You'll have that picture of the embodied sphirot where you can actually think about where in your body they are and bring them into your body. But I agree with you that Chesed, the way we use the word Chesed, and Hod do seem to be more of a sort of quiet, meditative, loving kind of practice. So we're almost done. I have 5 minutes, and I know there's a lot of people. Marla, remind me and separated. The throat chakra is probably in Da'at, but that's a little too complicated for right now. But I do have a beautiful picture that comes from, I believe it must be from Portugal, of the sphirot with the Kundalini, and I can post it to that. And it has all the chakras on it, and I'll post it to the Google Drive so you can get it later on if you go back into the Google Drive. So. Okay, so what I wanted to go through with you is just the resources that I brought to you, because I know that some of you are going, yeah, I'm ready. I know this, and I have all these deep questions to ask, and others are going, oh my gosh, what is she talking about? And I'm fully aware of that. So I'm going to definitely, Alana, you can share that Google Drive link now, and then I'll share my my email with everybody. And what I'd like to share, if I can get to the screen share thing, is this, if it came through, let me see. Yeah, okay, let's see if this shares. No, let me see where my share is. It's really confusing to be on a computer. I still haven't figured this quite out. Are you seeing a thing with a bunch of, what I'm looking for is for you to see a thing that has, no, you're still seeing the sphirot on this, right? Okay, let me stop.
No, I've seen the art scroll, Sidur. You have an outline.
Oh, you are seeing that? Okay, let me share that again. That's what I want you to see. Okay, so other sources for learning here are, you'll have a copy in your paper, a scan of the counting of the Omer from the Art Scroll Sidur. Again, it's not typically a very progressive Sidur, either in its translation, but there are good notes, and it has a full Omer practice. And you have the link to the Chabad, the Chabad app, which I think is, and it's also on their website. I think it's actually really helpful. They give you hints of kava note that you can have for each day of counting the Omer. And as I said, I would be really happy to meet with other folks and to set up some other times to do Omer counting, especially since we're not together in the desert. And I miss you all so much. And I'd love to stay connected on a more personal level. And one of the things that you can also do is to find an Omer buddy, someone who you're close with. And it's sort of, you may be aware of the word in Judaism called musar. Musar is a practice where you're cultivating your soul traits. And counting the Omer is one way of refining the soul traits and of really talking about them. But it is a meditative practice or a shared practice where you can share with another presumably human being or a being of some kind with what what's in your heart and how that particular practice, that particular trait is resonating in your life on that particular day. It could be a wonderful practice to do with a partner, an intimate partner, or a friend, or someone that you're just connecting with. And I'm sure we can figure out a way to connect folks if they want to find somebody to be a Sphera buddy during this counting time. And let me just look through the chat here. Yes, you're going to get all the written sources. I'm going to give you the Google Drive. Do you want me to get the Google Drive, Ilana, or do you want to pull it from the email I sent you before?
Yeah, I shared it, but I can share it again.
Did it come through? Oh, that was, I see it's in the same one right under wildernesstorah.donate. It's right underneath there. So you'll see that in the chat. And I will also share with you, what did I say I would share with you? The TED Talk about this woman who got to experience her right brain, having been a left brain scientist all her life. And also my email address. So I think I'll type that to you now. And I think that they asked me to finish at 11:55. So it is 11:55, and I feel like all I've done is talk for the last 50 minutes. And I'll sort of want to apologize for doing that. But on the other hand, there was just a lot of information to get, and I would love to set up a way if there are those who'd like to talk more intimately about any of these questions. And Amanda has a great way of counting through collaging or imaging, drawing. Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm going to give you Rabbi saraleah@gmail.com. Just connect with me privately. I'll be happy. And if for some reason I missed your email, reply, send it to me again. I think did I send it to everybody? No, I think I sent it to Alana privately. Hold on. I got to figure out how to, Alana, would you send my email address to everybody for me?
Ben has already shared the link to the TED Talk.
Oh, he found it already? Yay, Ben. Thank you. And I think Malka wants to speak now, right? Malka?
Yeah, I'm just going to do a quick little outro announcement, and then we might have a couple minutes, we'll see, for some last questions and goodbyes. Hi, everyone. My name is Malka. I'm the Logistics and Community Programs Manager at Wilderness Torah. I just want to say a big thank you for everyone for coming and being in virtual community with us. All of our sessions are being recorded unless otherwise noted, and they will be posted on our website after each of our live streams. Our upcoming sessions this week, our offices are closed on Wednesday, so our next session will be on Friday, the same time, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific time. It will be led by the amazing Rabbi Jill Hammer of Kohenet, and she will be teaching the red heifer and the red thread, finding holiness in life and death. It's going to be an incredible session, and we really hope you'll join us then. Stay tuned for our newsletter every Thursday that states our upcoming village programming. As well, you can check out our Facebook or Instagram for more updates. And Alana's going to insert a link to our website, as well as our donation page if you feel called to support us in a deeper way. Excuse me. Thank you so much to Rabbi Sarah Leah. Really beautiful teachings, and we are so honored to be here with you. And I think we have about 3 minutes left for any closing questions or comments from all and Sarah Leah. And many
just unmute yourself if you'd like to ask a question, and we'll go like that. So actually what I really wanted is we should actually count the Omer. So for those of you, some of you may have counted it and some of you may not have. So let me pull that up real quick and then we can count the Omer together, and then we'll go with questions. I think I may have, now there we go. Okay, see if I get this. Okay, so so there is a tradition to stand while you count the Omer. So I will stand, and so this is how I do it, and we'll see how it goes. So l'shem yichud kucha b'richu shchinte b'chilu richimu liyached shem yod he b'vav he b'yichudash shalim b'shem kol Yisrael hineni mechuna u'mezumenet l'kayem mitzvat aseh shel sfirat ha'omer. We'll go down to the bracha here. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Hayom arba'a yamim la'omer. Today is the 4th day of the Omer, and you'll have that counting in the resources that I gave you. And today, as we said already, is Netzach Shebechesed. So if you want to try to do this in your body, you're on your right leg and you're leaning to the right. So we are like leaning really far to the right. We're doing that kind of yoga pose to really lean to the right. We're like in a day of complete outpouring of energy with very little boundedness. And that's just where we are today. So, and let's chant this last line. Let's chant Ana B'choach together and then the last paragraph. So, Ana B'choach Kedulat Yamincha Tatir Tzurura Kaber Rinatam Chasagvenu Tareinu Nora Nagi Borto Shechudecha Kevavat Shomrem Barchem Tarem Rachamem Sirkatecha Tamir Gomlem Chasin Kadosh Berov Tuvachana El Aratecha Yachid Ge'ele Amcha Pene Zochre Kedushatecha Shavatenu Kabel Ushemat Zachatenu Yodea Ta'alumot Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ribono Shel Olam Atzat Tzivitano B'dei Moshe, Master of the Universe, you have commanded us through Moses, your servant, to count Sfirat HaOmer in order to purify us from our negativity and that which disconnects us from holiness. May the souls of your people be cleansed from their impurity. Therefore, it may be your will that in the merit of Sfirat HaOmer, which I counted today, any blesh that I have caused in the Sphira of Netzach Sheba Chesed be rectified, and may I be purified and sanctified with supernal holiness. May abundant bounty thereby flow through all the worlds. May it rectify all levels of our soul, nefesh, ruach, and neshama, from all dross and blemish. And may we be purified and sanctified with your supernal holiness. Amen. Selah. So, okay, so I'm going to stop the share. We can stop the recording now, and if anybody wants to stay on for a few more minutes to ask anything, you're welcome to, or do we need to stop the class, Malka?
I'll stop the recording and
Okay.
we can have a few minutes for questions. Thank you.
Yeah, if there's a few messages for questions, I can stay on for a little bit. So just unmute yourself and move